Welcome everyone. This is the HBCU Black History Month, Grind City Media Memphis Grizzlies, the HBCU Experience, Education, Culture, and Impact panel discussion. I'm your host and moderator, Michael Wallace, Grind City Media Senior Editor. Every year, this time of the year is such a special and a unique opportunity. We've been doing this with the Memphis Grizzlies and our foundation and our partners hosting Black History Month, engagement opportunities and content, but a pillar of that engagement and options and process that we go through is the HBCU panel discussion. This is my third or fourth year. I'm honored. It's a privilege. We know what HBCU means in our community. Historically Black colleges and universities have produced doctors, lawyers, entertainers, people that contribute at every phase and every facet of our functioning society throughout history. It didn't just start now. It's been a long-standing tradition of excellence and pride. And in the vein of that excellence and pride, I have a panel discussion of 5 members here that are going to be helping us launch into the discussion about the culture, the impact, and the educational benefits of attending HBCUs from a historical standpoint. So without any further ado, I'm going to jump right into introducing our esteemed panel. First, we're going to start off with Trevia Chapman, 2021 Grizzlies HBCU Empowerment Award honoree, graduate of Tennessee State University. So she's a Tiger, just like fellow Tigers that are on this panel as well. Senior Vice President and Memphis Marketing Manager with Bank of America, and a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Thank you for joining us, Ms. Chapman. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
All right. And also Corey Allen, founder and president of HBCU Awareness Foundation. He's a past HBCU Empowerment Award honoree for 2020. Corey also is a graduate of let me say it again, the Grambling State University. So he's a brother of mine from that standpoint. So I'm glad to always have him back here as well. And also the assistant store manager for Lowe's. So welcome again, Corey. Welcome in with us.
Thank you. You're welcome.
All right. Next is Dr. Ivy R. Taylor. She is the president of Russ College in Holly Springs, Mississippi. I have a long line of relatives that are graduates and contributors to Russ College, so it's good to have family back on here with us as well. Dr. Taylor is a former mayor of San Antonio, Texas. There's another connection in San Antonio there. I interned in San Antonio the same summer when Greg Popovich was named the head coach of the San Antonio Spurs, so that dates me a little bit as well there. Dr. Taylor received her academic degree from Yale University, the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and the University of Pennsylvania. Her dissertations at the University of Pennsylvania focused on leadership at historically Black colleges and universities. Welcome, Dr. Taylor.
Thank you for having me.
All right, next up, Lori Evans. She's a familiar face around here. We have her every single year, every single time that we do this HBCU night, HBCU week, Black History Month. She's a part of the Grizzlies family and forever will be. Lori is the president of the Jackson State University Memphis Chapter Alumni Association. She's a graduate of Jackson State University and is Miss Jackson State University 1988 and 89, member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. So she has a sister on the panel as well. She's an inaugural honoree of the Grizzlies HBCU Empowerment Award for 2019, as I said before. And she is also the Customer and Community Engagement Manager for Region 1. Thank you, Lori, for joining us again, as always.
Thank you. And I just want one correction. I was Miss JSU 1998, 99.
That's 98, 99. I said 88, 89.
Yeah.
See, my bad. Because see, we joked about this. We joked about this in pre-production, and I apologize for that.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
See, you were embracing the age before, right? And I just added 10 more years to it.
You did.
My bad. My apologies for that. I apologize.
No, you're fine.
Okay, and last but not least, Delcinia Pegues, President, National Pan-Hellenic Council Incorporated of the Memphis metropolitan area. She's also a graduate of the University of Mississippi and the University of Phoenix, and a member of the Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. Delcinia also recently turned a hobby of crafting things for friends into a successful, small, Black-owned business. Shout out to that, because that's one of the pillars of what we're doing in Black History Month. We're shining a spotlight on minority-owned businesses and helping them spread awareness and empowering that initiative as well. So thank you all for joining us. We'll get started with the panel discussion questions because we have a lot to get to in a short time to get there, but let's have fun with it. And I want to work some of the questions around the horn, and there are going to be some that I'm going to ask specifically. But we'll start with the general question that's open to all panelists. And that, to start, I'd like to open this question by asking, when you hear the phrase historically Black colleges and universities, what comes to mind?
Legacy.
The same word that I was thinking: history, legacy, and opportunity. That's what came to mind for me.
I hear greatness.
I hear talent and culture.
I hear the opportunity, the things that can happen to you and for you there. Once you leave, once you're there, it's the opportunity.
Opportunity, legacy, greatness, culture, impact, history, all of those things combined, because that's a powerful acronym. And we all, it unite, I would say unity as well, because it unites all of us. And, you know, most teams and most schools are united by the conference that they play in athletically or things of that nature, but HBCUs incorporates all of that. And I would say unity is one that comes to mind in terms of what I think of when I hear HBCUs. Travia, we want to go to you for the next question. HBCUs have a rich and a long history. Why is there still a debate for many regarding the value of HBCUs in some circles?
Yes, and when you say the word value as a banker, you know, I'm thinking about several layers of what that has to do about money. HBCUs indeed have a long, rich history. However, in my opinion, the debate of the HBCU's value at its core is fundamentally tied to racial inequality. It's the devaluation of Blackness. I'll give you an example, again, going back to the banker by utilizing property value. According to the Brookings Institute, if you take one property with similar amenities, build one in a majority neighborhood and build another in a minority neighborhood, the house in the minority neighborhood is worth 23% less than the house in the majority neighborhood, simply because the neighborhood is Black. The irony of that is if gentrification happens, that same neighborhood, that same dirt instantly becomes more valuable. It's again the devaluation of Blackness. The same principles apply with HBCUs, except for the fact that HBCUs rarely have the same amenities as PWIs. Both should be regarded by the states as prestigious institutions of higher learning. However, HBCUs receive significantly less state and federal funding than PWIs. One study that I had the opportunity to look up said that there are 4 schools in one state in the South. 2 are PWIs, 2 are HBCUs. Again, the same state, same dirt. The PWIs receive nearly 50% more in state and federal funding per pupil than HBCUs. It's a harsh reality in this debate that institutions and government invest in things that they see value in. But the debate is simple. We've been telling folks for years that greatness comes out of HBCUs. And to stop devaluing HBCUs, HBCU administrations lead their schools against many obstacles. I mean, HBCU graduates support to the best of our abilities, even when faced with pay gaps and lack of generational wealth to create rich endowments. I mean, the resilience alone is value earned. I think about all of what's going on at Jackson State with Deion Sanders coming in to try, change the game and level the playing field. So the value tide is indeed changing, but again, looking at it from a monetary standpoint, that is the reason why people continue to say, back to your original question, what's that debate regarding the value? It's what people see the value in and how we own our own story in saying what the value of us is at HBCU.
Great response there. Absolutely great response. Rich, impactful response with a lot to unpack there. And, along those same lines, Corey, you founded the HBCU Awareness Foundation and have made it your mission to spread awareness and exposure and create opportunities for not just potential students, but also their families for generations now. You've gone from creating a HBCU classic to now having 30 HBCUs participating in college fairs, not only in Tennessee, but in Mississippi and Arkansas. So when you have an HBCU, or I should say, why should a historically Black college and university be at the top of any prospective students' list when it comes to going to college for that next level of experience?
Well, HBCUs offer a unique cultural opportunity for students to learn in an environment that's supportive for the individual that is there in a different way than a predominantly white school may not offer. If you look at what Ms. Chapman said, there's so many greatness that has come from HBCUs. So when students are there, they're getting the value, they're getting so much there. I mean, the opportunities that you look at people who've gone HBCUs, they're providing internships. You look at now, so many companies are going to HBCUs, grabbing those students because now they look at their value, look at what they're getting. And the funny thing about it is it's been there now, it's been there 20 years ago, 10 years ago, been there 20 years ago. And we're producing greatness. And every institution that comes to my fair all has something unique about them. And that's what an HBCU can do. That same student from Memphis may have a 2.5, and all they ever saw in their life was University of Memphis, Mississippi State, and Southern Miss. But they go right there to Russ and get in, be successful, join every opportunity, every activity they can. They come out to be a better person. But then they thought they could never go to school with a 2.5. But they can go right there to Russ, right there to Philander, get 2.5, they in there. So kids, the opportunity is there for those kids.
And you talk about opportunities, and the opportunity for our institutions, HBCUs, to meet students where they are and
Right.
continue the development process, to continue to build together in a nurturing environment. I remember the first time when I saw Gramblin's campus coming off of I-20, going up that hill. And then I saw, I came down the hill that night, it was evening, and the city just lit up. It looked like its own oasis right there. And I knew from that moment on, and I saw that sign, a place where everybody is somebody. And I knew that place was for me. So I'll get off my high horse then, because I don't want anybody to get jealous or anything like that and regret their college decisions. But having said that, as a fellow Grambling guy, I want to ask you this. What is that sensation and that feeling that you've experienced students feel when they get off of these college tours and they step foot on these campuses for the first time?
Oh, I can remember my first tour, and the greatest thing, the foundation has done 18 college tours. So my very first one, when I didn't realize it was just a fair. So I said, let me get a bus, take kids to Grambling. Took them to Grambling, didn't know what to expect. And every tour I do is actually called High School Day. So you're looking at other students, you're looking at either 600 to another 3,000 kids at that school. And there's activities. You're taking kids who's A, never been anywhere, or B, just never been on a Black college campus. But when you come back, they're thanking you for that experience. They're seeing people, A, look like them, B, trying to get them to come there to be a part of that legacy that they're doing, that greatness. So when you're taking kids to visit schools that never thought, or you finding people to sponsor them to go somewhere, it's like, I never knew I can go here. But now you can go because you've seen it. It's different when you come to my fair and you see 30 HBCUs, but when you attend one for a day visit, it's the excitement is there for those students.
Thank you, Corey. Dr. Taylor, let me come to you next. And first and foremost, congratulations on behalf of our panel on you being named the new president at Rust College. This past May in 2020, as you navigated some of these challenges here as we move forward. So congratulations on your appointment there. And we're fortunate to have you in our Mid-South region. We know that the majority of HBCUs were started between the years of 1865 and 1900, primarily because Black students didn't have any other options and opportunities to attend institutions of higher learning. HBCUs have come a long way since then. How have HBCUs redesigned the educational landscape of higher learning in your regard?
Well, I think it's been alluded to a little bit earlier that HBCUs have done an extraordinary job of meeting students where they are and wrapping their arms around them and nurturing them and shepherding them to graduation and then beyond that, dating all the way back to those that started in the shadow of slavery, which, Russ College was founded in 1866. So we were literally providing education for people for whom it had been illegal for them to actually learn anything. So as we fast forward to 21st century, in some ways it's not as dire, but if you pay attention to anything going on in K through 12, it's almost as dire because there is a lot of dysfunction and students still know that college is the path forward if they want to achieve financial stability and be able to serve in their communities. So as students arrive, we're able to meet them where they are. I think in almost all HBCUs, teaching is a priority. Whereas we do have some HBCUs that are research institutions, I still think that teaching and the relationship between students and faculty and what goes on in the classroom is going to be a priority at any HBCUs. And we know that that is going to result in more success for our students. I think also the fact that Black students hear so many negative messages about who they are, as Trevia said earlier, that HBCUs take on the responsibility of instilling that pride in Black students, whether that be through actually studying, cultural history and the contributions of African Americans, or also whether it be focusing on leadership. I think focusing on leadership and service is something that HBCUs do extraordinarily well. And that comes because we can't, as a people, can't afford to focus on individual mobility. We've still got to focus on how we can advance as a community. And that's what we're about here at Russ College.
Thank you. Thank you, Doctor. And that leads me to my next question as well, because the thing that all of our institutions, HBCUs, tend to offer is the ability for students to come on campus and see someone who can be an aunt or a cousin or a grandmother, or a father figure. And you see that family structure there. And you feel like, okay, I may have come 200 miles or 20 miles or 2,000 miles across the country, but I know I have people here on this campus that care about my well-being as a student, my well-being culturally and educationally. And along those same veins, as we do this HBCU panel highlighted during the month of Black History Month, it's important to underscore and acknowledge the impact that HBCUs have had on Black culture. So my question is, and I want each one of the panelists to touch on this briefly, is how have HBCUs in your mind helped shape Black culture as it relates to American culture in music, fashion, and maybe sports?
I will say that, everything that is all to celebrate about Blackness and its culture is just literally interwoven into this country. You think about the music, and even just from the HBCU experience, Beyonce and her Homecoming album, all of that was a tribute to HBCUs and the bands and the majorettes and all of that jazz and pizzazz that comes straight out of an HBCU. And then when there was another concert that came, a country artist who performed on a concert or an award show, and she came out with a band, and it was this type of parallel that she attempted to create. God bless her, but it was just something about that beauty of that culture that, despite all odds, that America has to embrace, because we are in the fiber of the food. We're in the fiber of how this country has grown. Like you said, the music, the sports, there are some amazing players in many sports that are of the majority. But the dunking, the catching the ball and running, all, however many yards and all the dancing and when you get your touchdown, all of that is
Okay.
beautifully Black. And
Can
I
can
think
hold. You can't just give us a sample. You gotta, make
yeah,
sure,
and
for those that
all
didn't
of
see
that
it.
is the beauty of
Okay.
the culture of what we are in that HBCU experience.
Okay. Destiny, I want to come over to you for that. How is HBCU and the Black culture experience impacted American culture in your regard?
Well, I think that HBCU is a part of Black culture. And not only has HBCUs produced some wonderful musicians and talent in fashion and sports, but HBCUs have also produced some phenomenal doctors, attorneys, educators, CEOs, entrepreneurs. So, I mean, you name it. So.
That's a good point. One of the things that I also noticed too, I've been following sort of the return to school options that are going on. And in our state of Tennessee, the last two school systems to go back or to have return to school options were Metro Nashville and Shelby County in Memphis. And both of those school districts primarily have Black and brown children. So that's been controversial. But one of the steps that helped Nashville get back to school was Meharry College offering to administer the vaccinations rollout alongside Vanderbilt. So to your point, Delcinia, we definitely have an input and an impact when it comes to things beyond sports and entertainment. It goes into medicine and law and all of those other things as well. I want to continue to move on because I want to get to another couple topics of discussion here. We've seen the influence of Black culture permeate and thrive on many colleges and campuses. We talk about fashion, we talked about music, et cetera, and especially within fraternities and sororities. I didn't pledge when I was at Grambling, but I understand the gravity and the culture that comes into the sororities and fraternities. There's organizations that are always visible and community oriented. So my question, I'm gonna come back to you, Delcinia, first here. Fraternities and sororities were started on college campuses for African Americans. Strolling, stepping, and chanting are just a few of the exciting forward-facing things that people are familiar with and love to see. What other ways have fraternities and sororities shaped the college experience for African-American students?
Well, fraternities and sororities have shaped the experience for African-American students by providing positive examples for not only what we do, but how we do it. So looking to see an example, every organization has the principle of scholarship. So therefore, it's important to maintain academics, to make sure that you're focusing on your studies while being organized and able to do all the other things that you see outwardly. So that's just a reminder for the students to remember to focus on your studies. Another thing is service. So we all have the principle of service. So while we're doing the stepping and the strolling and the other calls, you're able to see the work that's being put forth in the community. And it also, one last point is that it is a beacon of community, because for a lot of people, it's the absolute first time they've been away from home. So to see the example of sororities and fraternities coming together and having that family orient, but not only just one particular sorority or fraternity, but the National Panhellenic Council as a whole coming together to do great things in the community.
Now, I also have two other Deltas on the panel here, so I would be remiss if I didn't give them a chance to chime in on that very same subject.
Three Deltas.
Three. Okay.
Hello, so where were you?
See, here's the thing. Dr. Taylor's resume was just so deep that she didn't even get the Delta in there, right? She didn't even get the sorority in there, so it's all good.
She completes that pyramid 3. That's good. I like that. I would like to say, I think that, the fraternity sororities also provide our students an opportunity for a network that forces them a trajectory of upward mobility. Because a lot of times you think the students, they go and they come to your college campus, and some of them are first-time college graduate. But they're first-time college attendees. They're the first in the family to go to college. And a lot of them come with just like a blank slate. They have no idea. and they get to the college campus, they see, they experience all this, and then they have an opportunity to learn a set of transferable skills that they may not learn anywhere else, like leadership, public speaking, budgeting, event planning, promotions, marketing, all of that. And when you couple that into the other opportunities that it provides, because I think about, just like Delcinia said, we all, were founded on scholarship and service and brotherhood and sisterhood. And then when you think about it, those that have come before you, they have like an obligation. It's like a network, right? And you have an opportunity to provide these young students an opportunity to branch out into the world, because when they graduate, a lot of them, they have no clue. We all walk into, college the first day and say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But I think within your overall college, alumni network is one thing. And then when you break it down into your fraternity or sorority networks, you can always find somebody, and especially if they are affiliated with your particular college chapter, that can provide you that inroads. Because just be really honest, it's not all about what it's about who or who knows you. And so it's about that network. And if you can pick up the phone, or you have a lifeline to reach out to someone in your organization, or someone in another organization that can help you, to be successful, I think they also provide that as those leadership skills that are transferable, because outside of being in the chanting and the strolling and all that which is great, but it also provides them another opportunity to be, successful leaders in society.
Okay. Either of the other two deltas want to chime in, or did that say it all?
I was just going to extend on that point about folks who are first generation college and really may not have anyone in their family who's gone to college, pursued professional careers. Being a member of a sorority for me gave me the opportunity to be exposed to the sorors who were in the graduate chapter nearby, to see what their lives looked like, to be exposed to someone who had a professional job that I had I could have a relationship with, because in my family, frankly, I didn't have that, because my parents didn't have the chance to go to college, and I didn't know what life after college was supposed to look like, or what service to my community looked like, in some of the formalized ways. So I think that is another advantage of the fraternities and sororities that they bring as support to students who have not been exposed to many things at a younger age.
Okay. Travia, you want to wrap us up on that?
Sure. The only thing that I would add, that my beautiful sorors have already really laid a great foundation for, is just the connectivity. You have the scholarship, the service, the leadership, and that exposure that comes from the sororities and the fraternities, that you can, be out trying to navigate whatever's going on in life or career. And you could have a flat tire and you have a Delta tag on your car, parked next to another Delta, and oh, you got a flat. It's all of this is different, because it's truly a sisterhood, or the brotherhoods of having each other's back. And that is something that within our culture as a people, that we really strive to always have each other's back, because quite frankly, our family structure was not always what was the status quo. Grandmother may have raised you, or your cousin may have raised you. It was not always mom, dad, and a dog. So when you get ready to head into that college atmosphere from all of these different backgrounds and different ways that you were raised, those fraternities and those sororities just embraced you and just loved on you and said, come on, we're going to get through this thing together. And I remember, pledging at Tennessee State, and how those were some of the highest GPAs that I saw throughout my matriculation, because we just really came together and we got it done. And those are the things that I love when I think about sororities and fraternities, just that whole stacking hands and pushing through.
Yes, that reminds me of the principles, some of the principles that Eddie Robinson used to talk about at Grambling, iron sharpening iron. And we bringing out the best in one another, pushing one another towards excellence because we're all trying to achieve the same thing. Dr. Taylor, I want to come back to you on this level too, because we've talked about the sort of the fraternity, the sorority aspect of it. From the leadership standpoint, we know one of the biggest challenges of our HBCUs is funding and resources. Now that you're in this role here, what are some of the obstacles that you are going to try to navigate to help increase the level of alumni giving back and also just working